Hey everybody, I'm Adam Biggers, and just a quick introduction if you're new to the podcast. Covered Michigan for a long time for Bleacher Report, did a little bit for the Yahoo Contributor Network, FanRag Sports, my own outlet, Great Lakes Divide, uh, and I mentioned FanRag Sports. So right now I'm freelancing for Saturday Tradition, and this is my second year with them, so be sure to follow them on Twitter at Tradition. It's SaturdayTradition.com. A lot of great Big Ten coverage, writers much better than myself, so check out those guys. I just sit on my couch now and write about Michigan. So as you guys know, I'm not back at it full time. I don't attend media events. I'm not at press conferences, and I'm not at games. I'm going to try to maybe get to something, a couple things this year if time permits it. But as of right now, I'm just kind of a casual observer and, well, I guess more than casual, but I do a lot of reading, try to keep up on it, so I'm not just writing the same type of stuff that everybody else that covers Michigan writes. So, and while I'm at it, some of my favorite writers, Angelique Shingelis, the Detroit News, Aaron McMahon does a really good job at MLive. Those are the two that I read. So there are a lot of people to choose from. The Wolverine, John Borton, and Chris Ballas, of course. Those guys are great sources of information as well. So, but with so many different Michigan blogs and live streams and everything like that to choose from, I do appreciate everybody who reads my stuff and follows my work. And speaking of following, you can follow me on Twitter at AdamBiggers81. And again, read my stuff at Saturday Tradition. That's at Tradition on Twitter, and SaturdayTradition.com is the website. So I'm going to wait for a couple minutes to let people get in. I'm going to tweet that we're live. If you have any questions, comments, I want to talk a little bit. I just wrote a piece about, I know everybody was complaining about how much Michigan ran against Washington and why not more passing. Jim Harbaugh addressed that in his post-game press conference. So I wrote about it, and I did a little bit of digging on some stats as well, so you'll be surprised. I'll save that for, right now it looks like we only got a few people in the room, so I'm going to tweet and see, get some more people in here. Feel free to check in the chat, and if you're so inclined, if you'd like to contribute to my efforts, there's a super chat feature. You can donate a bunch of money. So, and speaking of money, if you're a betting person, which I'm not, believe it or not, I never gambled when I was a sports writer. Never bet on games, and I had all the inside information. Not that I don't have connections now, but I had much better connections when I was there on a daily basis, and I knew everything. I mean, I knew if a guy twisted an ankle or dislocated a thumb. I mean, I knew to the level of, it was like information overload. I knew dumb shit. I mean, it got to that point. I could have made a killing at predicting Michigan football. I could have been rolling in the dough. And week one, I predicted 44-14 or 41-14. It ended up being 47-14. And then I predicted 31-10 against Washington. It ended up, or I predicted 38-13. It ended up being 31-10. So, and I've always been really close on my calls. So I think I'm going to give it a go and throw some money on FanDuel tomorrow and at least double the money. I think Michigan's 26.5 point favorites, and the over/under is 54.5. So I'm thinking it's going to be 42-14-ish, maybe 45-10. But then again, is this going to be one of those surprise games where NIU NIU, Northern Illinois, will come out of nowhere, right? And Rocky Lombardi lit up Michigan last year, so I'm almost on the fence. And Michigan's going to win this game, but do I want to put money on minus 26.5? So I'm going to tweet this real quick, and I see some comments, so I'll get in those. All right, Damian Kuhn, again, great piece. Thanks, Damian. I appreciate it. Yeah, I'll throw the link here in the super chat. Damien read it earlier. I like it better. I'm not in love with the format, what it looks like on mobile, because the ads would like just chop up a paragraph. So you have a paragraph, and then underneath the ad, there's like 3 words. It looks a lot better on desktop, so or laptop. Give that a read. Michigan is 7-0 when Jim Harbaugh runs for 50 or more times. And there have been times I should have probably gauged it when they run for 40 or more times. Because there are a lot of games where they run 41, 42, 45, 48. There was one against Wisconsin that they ran 48 times. So, I mean, put it this way. If Michigan runs the ball a lot, they're going to win. And for statistically speaking, for what I looked up, it is 7-0 when Michigan runs the ball 50 or more times. So, if there's any questions on Twitter, again, you can follow me on Twitter at AdamBiggers81, or if you're watching now, feel free to join the chat. They're a little less formal than they used to be, the different setting, if you guys haven't noticed. And I think last year I kind of let loose a little bit. I started drinking beer on the show because I was like, why not? Fuck it. But it was more of a less of like I don't ever consider like I was a stuffy media type. I always consider myself, hey, I love college football, I love sports. I'm lucky enough to have this job and make a living, writing about sports. So that's how I always looked at it. I never went in with the stuffy media approach where a lot of these guys never touched the field, never threw a ball, never stepped on the ice, shot a basket, anything. I mean, there's a lot of non-athletic people in sports media, yet they want to criticize these guys. So sports have always been a big part of my life, and I felt like the players recognize that, Harbaugh recognized that, like they know people who have been involved, and I just looked at it from that standpoint. These guys are college athletes, they're living their dream, and it's a fun team to cover. I'll say that. Woody C10, only thing truly concerned about is the pass defense, just so much on. Woody, I actually wrote about that earlier this week. Let me go ahead and find that for you. It is a concern, and I don't want to be one of those guys that there's constructive criticism and there's just people who go out of their way to like shit on people. And Vincent Gray has been shit on hardcore by Wolverines fans. Is it warranted? Not in the manner that they're doing it. Is criticism warranted? Yes. Vincent Gray routinely gets beat on throws that are 15 yards and deeper. I looked up a few stats against week 1. He gave up a couple 18-yard passes. Didn't even have his head turned for 3 of them. 2 or 3 of them went right over his head. Was it a lucky throw? Was it lucky that Vincent Gray wasn't paying attention? I don't know, but for some reason, Vincent Gray, Rocky Lombardi beat Vincent Gray a couple times last year when Michigan State won 27-24 in Ann Arbor. So I don't want to sit here and be a person that's just going to dump on a guy who is 10 times, 100 times more athletic than I've ever thought of being. He's playing college football at the highest level. Is he a perfect player? No. Has he made mistakes? Absolutely, he has. But the secondary is a liability right now. And I hate to make Vincent Gray the focal point of it because it's not just him. But I feel like he's the guy, like, when I do see an obvious play of a breakdown in the secondary, I'm like, that was great. He just got beat. So, Woody, let me find that article. It's on my Twitter. And again, if you don't already, follow me on Twitter. It's at AdamBiggers81. There's a link to that. If you're having something cold to drink tonight, here's to you. It's Friday, 8:14 here in the Eastern Time Zone. Michigan and NIU, noon tomorrow. Again, I'm looking at it as probably a 42-14-ish game. Michigan favored by 26.5 last time I checked. Two-hearted, delicious, yes sir. I'm assuming. Yes, Woody. Damian Kuhn, does this team compare well to the Michigan teams under Jim Harbaugh. This team looks similar to the first few years. Damien, I don't want to jump to conclusions, but in terms of, these are a couple things that I've noticed, and I think anybody who's been there for any amount of time, and anybody who's actually had a lot of interactions, particularly in the press conferences with Jim Harbaugh, and I mentioned that in the article. I mean, he's talking about George, General Patton and Neil Armstrong, World War II Army general and the first man to walk on the moon. When he starts getting, and I wrote like metaphorical and historical, and when he starts speaking like that reminds me of like 15 and 16. It does. And again, I'm not down every day, so I'm not face to face with the players, and but there was a real sense of confidence, and I'll go to the ends of debate saying that 2016 team, people do not recognize how good that team was, and people want to, and especially talking heads like Paul Feinbaum acting like Harbaugh hasn't done shit since he's been in Michigan. They were a legitimate playoff team in 2016. That was his second year with a first-year starter with Wilton Speight. Jake Rudock was a starter in 2015, served as a fine bridge to 16. Wilton Speight was always right there. I've had extensive I think I maybe admitted it. Wilton Speight was my guy, so I had all the information all the time. And I think I probably admitted this last year. So if not, the cat's out of the bag now. How I had all the information about his starts, and if his was it broken collarbone, and was it going to start against Ohio State. I mean, I was in direct contact with him. We direct messaged routinely. It was ideal. I mean, when Zach Gentry got moved from quarterback to tight end, that's the kind of stuff that I was getting on a daily basis. So, but back to the point with Wilton Speight, though, he was always waiting in the wings. Brady Hoke wanted to burn his red shirt, and here we see in 2016 a first-year starter, Jed Fish, genius passing game coordinator. I think that Michigan's offense has not been the same since Jed left, but that was a legitimate playoff team. They don't lose on the road to Iowa, and they'd still lose Ohio State. They're a playoff team, no doubt in my mind. The Ohio State game didn't cost them the playoffs. The loss to Iowa cost them the playoffs. And I said this time and time again, the best quarterback Harbaugh has been Wilton. 13-3 as a starter. I think his completion percentage is somewhere around 65 or 66. I haven't looked up all his stats in a few years, but I do know that he was 13-3 as a starter. So, and he was the guy, throwing the ball when Michigan was a legitimate playoff team in 2016. Well, I think they were 9-0 going into Iowa, weren't they? I'll have to look at the schedule, but I'm pretty sure they were 9-0 going into Iowa, and that loss is what did it. Derek Campbell. Derek, what's up, man? He says Rocky's going down this time. Go Blue. He doesn't have the same offensive line. Not that Michigan State had a great offensive line last year. Michigan State has been known over the years, particularly the D'Antonio era, to have pretty good offensive lines. Those last about 5 years, they had really good offensive line before the collapse. Kind of like, from around 11 to 15, Michigan State had like one of the best offensive lines in the Big Ten, if not in the country, all the time. So. Rocky didn't have that, obviously, but he had a decent offensive line. I don't know about Northern Illinois' offensive line. He doesn't have the same type of receivers either. It's still the same quarterback, though. So that's part of me is like, is Rocky going to have a Michigan State moment part 2, or is it just going to be he does not have enough around him to even be a true threat to Michigan? So Matt the Destroyer 2 says, yo, what's up, Matt? Derek Campbell says, if the defensive line can hold up and the linebackers continue to improve, then there is no reason that this team can't hang with all the offenses they'll face. You know who I like on the D-line, and it doesn't even start? It's Chris Jenkins. Pay attention to Chris. I like those guys, the underdog guys, the Caden Colasars, those type of guys, Jordan Glasgow a few years ago. Those are the kind of guys that I really like and I pay attention to. We all know the big names, Daxton Hill, Cade McNamara. I mean, I'm trying to just name off the top of my head right now. All of Michigan's star players, we know their names. You don't necessarily know the Chris Jenkins of the world. So those are the cool stories that I like to follow. Tron 7000 says, hey, welcome back. What up, Tron? the Josh Rosses. Josh Ross is a guy though that I really like because I don't feel like Josh Ross really has gotten the credit that he deserves. I mean, Aiden Hutchinson's going to get all the shine on defense, and I'm not taking anything away from Aiden Hutchinson. He's like a top 10, top 5 projected draft pick. I read a few days ago a mock draft had the Lions taking him at number 2 overall. So I'm not saying that Aiden Hutchinson doesn't deserve the spotlight, but I mean, even a guy like him, he'd probably be very quick to say, well, hey, look at a guy like Josh Ross. I mean, Josh Ross is like the leader in terms of mentality and maturity. I feel like Josh has been there for like 7 years now, 8 years. So that with that free COVID year, everybody got that extra year too. So glad to see Josh back. He was always a good interview, and he's one of those guys that's just a glue guy that everybody looks up to. I mean, if you look at like Mike McCray a handful of years back, Mike McCray was a lot like that. Maybe didn't necessarily get all the attention because there was guys like Chase Winovich and Rashawn Gary, but Mike McCray was certainly an anchor of that defense, and Josh Ross, same capacity. Damian Kuhn says, when does that freshman running back get some carries? Donovan Edwards, he got a 40. I'm gonna look. I have the game stats handy, guys. Don't worry. I saved them. Donovan had 6 carries for 27 yards, a long of 9. Average 4.5 a carry, but that 9-yard carry obviously helps skew the average. But 6 carries for 27 yards against Western Michigan, and I read that Mike Hart did say that he regrets maybe not getting Donovan some more carries against Washington. So I don't think he even he got 1 carry. Okay, yeah, for 4 yards. That's one of those that you don't even remember unless you look on the stat sheet. So. TJ Bellware says, oh my God, no way, Adam Bigger's live stream. What is this, 2017? Hey TJ, thanks for joining. It's a lot more casual now, so cheers to you for joining. Yeah, TJ was a regular. I freelance for Saturday Tradition, so they cover the Big Ten. It's part of the Saturday Down South Saturday Football Network. There's SEC's site, there's the Big Ten site, so this is my 2nd season freelancing for them. I'm not going to media events. I'm not conducting interviews. I have talked to Michigan. It sounds like I might be able to get a couple guys, maybe during the season, or at least one. I want to do a feature on Caden Kolesar because like I just said, I like those underdog stories. But I imagine I'm going to try to maybe get down to a game. I can get a single game credential if that's the case. So I just don't have the time anymore to get down there. That's not what I do full time, but I do still enjoy freelancing, obviously, and if I can get paid to watch football and write about it, I mean, why in the hell not? So what's the day job? I'm in marketing right now, and I actually I'll say this, today I interviewed with MLive, and that's actually where I got my start as a sports writer at the Flint Journal, but it's not for writing. It's a sales account executive, so won't even be involved in any content creation or anything like that. It's going to be strictly on the sales account executive side. So fingers crossed, hopefully. So this is Saturday Tradition Twitter. It's @Tradition, and it's SaturdayTradition.com. Yeah, Damien, the past couple years I've been in marketing. Last year, COVID, my job got eliminated. I was a marketing manager for a local physical therapy clinic. We had 2 locations, one in Flint and one in Grand Blanc. COVID hit. I was really on the way to getting more of an athletic client base. That's what they wanted. They wanted to expand. They already expanded into pediatrics, wanted to start getting more athletes. Not so much like, like the athletic physical therapy. They did a lot of occupational therapy and stuff like that, and for people that were like car accident victims. But I was well on my way, and then COVID hit, wiped out all the sports. And it's like, bam, during COVID, marketing was one of the, if you're marketing anywhere, you were probably one of the first to get axed. So it sucked. Matt the Destroyer 2 says if Michigan improves their pass defense, they can beat Ohio State. Whoa, I don't know about that yet. Everybody's dumping on Ohio State. Like, I don't get it. Oregon's a good team. That was a good game. I feel bad for C.J. Stroud. Ohio State fans, Alabama fans, and Notre Dame fans are the worst fans that I ever encountered in college football and possibly in all sports. New York Yankees fans are pretty obnoxious too. So I hate Raiders fans. I cannot stand Raiders fans for some reason. But in terms of college, Alabama, Notre Dame, Ohio State, those three fan bases annoy the hell out of me. Good luck, bro. Room for you. I appreciate it, Damien. Yeah, I don't even know if I should have said that. So, but yeah, I did interview with them today. I will tell you a funny story about an interview. It was an 8-week process. I did a Zoom meeting, everything. It was for, I don't want to mention the company name, but it was a local media company that owned radio stations, and it was for the digital managing editor position. And recruiter contacted me during the very first call. Salary expectations were discussed. I told them what I wanted. They didn't even back away from it. Everything was a go. It was very slow, poor communication in hindsight. But it was an 8-week process, about 5 different interviews. Like I said, there was one of them was a Zoom interview with a VP of content in Michigan. One was an in-person interview at the Flint studios. It is here in Flint. And everything was a go. They called me. They're like, hey, great news. We want to offer you the job. And I was like, awesome. I really wanted it. I had declined a couple other offers in the process because this is what I really wanted. So I'm thinking, great. I'm going to, they know what I want. Because we didn't really discuss salary during all these interviews. Only initially with the recruiter when she asked my expectations, and that was it. So we go through this whole process, and they come with an offer that is $20,000 less than what I said. So I said, I'm sorry, that's unacceptable. So the interviewing process sucks, especially when, this took 8 weeks, and I declined 2 jobs that in hindsight now would have paid more than what they offered. So I kind of kicked myself in the ass. They did offer pet insurance, which I was pretty impressed with, because everybody knows that I have 2 labs, and I actually added, Bandit, get off that. Bandit, get off that. Stop slobbering. I actually added a new one in the family. He's a bulldog. He's 5. His name's Bandit. Today's his first day at my house, so my friend had to rehome him. He's not a dog person at all. I've been telling him for a long time, dude, you don't need a dog. Don't have a dog. So he got a dog and decided he couldn't take care of him. So I adopted him, and he's learning the ropes around the house. So it's a good dog. Anyway, back to football. Venting, job interview process. Cameron Clark says, what's up, Biggers? What's up, Cameron? How you doing? Matt the Destroyer says, Michigan's run game is just as good as Oregon's. We could talk about that. Blake Corum, I think, is like number 8 in the country in terms of rushing yards. I actually have that pulled up. Let's see, because I know Kenneth Walker of Michigan State's like number 3 or 4. He's number 4. Kenneth Walker's number 4 with 321 total yards and 5 touchdowns. Blake Corum is number 8 with 282 yards and 4 rushing touchdowns. But let's not also forget what Blake Corum can do. Whenever the ball's in his hand, and it does not have to be a handoff. It could be a bubble screen, it could be a return. Blake Corum's a guy. Every time he touches the football, you want to be watching because you don't know what's going to happen. And those players are fun. I remember, there are a lot of players like that. And I'll say this: people want to throw out comparisons and everything, like dynamic duos and teams that have had like really good backfields. 2 of my favorite backfields I ever watched was Run DMC at Arkansas. That was Darren McFadden and Felix Jones, and then Cedric Irvin and J.U. Colcrick at Michigan State. Those were 2. But McFadden and Jones were awesome at Arkansas. And I like seeing a backfield where there's 2 running backs that Michigan's stacked at running back. And Michigan has been stacked at running back for about 6-7 years now. there's never been a question of a level of talent back there. And I mean, we've seen guys like Cron Higdon. Cron was a 3-star recruit. Nobody was gonna, predict him to be, a star running back. He had the first 1,000-yard rushing season since Fitz Toussaint in 2011. I know Davion got close in 2000, was it 15 or 16? I think Davion had like 968 yards, so he was close to 1,000. Karan broke the 1,000-yard mark. But let's not forget Davion Smith. One of the best runs of the Harbaugh era was that "Now You See Me, Now You Don't" against BYU. They beat him 38-0, and it looks like there's about 5 or 6 Cougars on him, and then next thing you know, he just pops up and he's gone. So, Matt the Destroyer says, yes, he is. I just checked. Damian Kuhn says, is the game plan to run again this weekend, or do you think they're going to open up the passing attack? I think this will be a game where there will be more passing. I don't think this is going to be a game where you're going to see Michigan run the ball 50 times. I'm guessing probably around 30. Assuming that the passing game gets in rhythm, and I don't know the game plan. I'm not the coach. Maybe their plan is to run 50 times, but I would imagine if the pass game's working, then you'd probably see somewhere in the range of about 27 to like 35. Cameron Clark says, what's the job? Which one? The one the 8-week? Disappointment, Zoom interviews, in-person interviews, like 4 phone calls, going through a recruiter. I mean, if a recruiter calls you for a job, assume you're not going to get it because you're like one of about 90 people that they're contacting. And they don't care. And I'm sorry if there's any recruiters out there. The recruiter is going to just cast a huge net, and if one of their people gets hired, they get paid. That's how they make their money. So, the 8-week. It was digital managing editor for a. They own local radio stations, but they are a national media company, one of the biggest media companies. Sorry, I'm stuttering my words right now. One of the biggest media companies in the United States. They own, I forgot how many radio stations. They own XXL Hip Hop magazine. So, I mean, if you Google that, you'll be able to say. But yeah, it was 8 weeks, and at the end of the day, it was very disappointing. They came with an offer that was $20,000 less than what I asked for, and I wasn't even asking for a lot. I mean, I was asking for what I'm worth, and what those type of jobs get paid for. It's not like I went in there and saying, I want 90, I want 6 figures, something like that. And in a different market, it probably would pay that much, but not in Flint. And the offer that they came with was extremely disappointing. The governor. What's up, Adam? I'm back, and so are you. Glad to see you again. Yeah, where have you been? Are you still on Twitter? Like I said, everybody, I think everybody in here probably does follow me on Twitter. It's at AdamBiggers81. Read my stuff at Saturday Tradition, at Tradition on Twitter, and at SaturdayTradition.com. If you're so inclined, Super Chat's there. It's that little $sign if you want to support. How many of you guys, just out of curiosity, I know Damien for sure, TJ Bellware for sure, DAS, and the governor, Cam. You guys all remember the 808 State Street, Mr. Spots. I miss those days. Mr. Spots is, I need to get down there. I haven't been there in a long time. A couple years now. So shout out to Tim and Keith for the support in the past. I'll still plug them. They're not even giving me money or food, but I'll still plug Mr. Spots. 808 State Street in Ann Arbor. Oh, Matt says, I think Blake Corum is the leading in scrimmage yards as well. Not sure, though. I'd have to look that up. DAS wants to, who called the plays on offense for us in the Washington game? Jim Harbaugh, at the end of the day, always says that he has final say, but I think it's Josh Gaddis. and I don't want to speculate because I haven't been down there, and people will ask, and Harbaugh will always say the same thing. At the end of the day, he has final say. He's head coach. There, he is not, unless, and I had my ways of finding out certain information. Jed Fish did a lot of play calling when he was at Michigan. I had my ways of finding things out. But I'm not down there all the time, and I don't, dedicate, you know, every waking hour to finding the, every little tidbit of Michigan football news, because I don't get paid enough. Uh, I'm just freelancing, man. I just write. I stay informed, but I'm not dedicating my life for it, as a part-time thing. So what I can say, I think that Josh Gaddis is probably calling the majority of the plays. They'll never publicly say it. Jim Harbaugh is not going to come out and say, well, I call 38% of the plays. Josh calls 60% of the plays, and the other 2% are we just, combine our heads. It's never going to be like that. The governor says, what's your prediction for Saturday's game with Michigan and Michigan State? I think Michigan 42-14, and I've been talking, I never bet. And now that I'm not a sports writer and I don't have all the inside info, I should have been betting, but I'm generally pretty close. I did really well this past year in March Madness, so got on FanDuel and turned like $25 into like 450, so that wasn't bad. I'm not gambling big money or anything, but I am going to put some money on Michigan tomorrow, but I don't know if I like minus 26.5. I mean, 42-14 seems legit to me, but NIU is one of those teams that might kind of come out surprised. So I mean, maybe it's a 42-21 game, a 35-20, something like that. Michigan's going to win. I don't have any problem with a 2-touchdown cushion, and that's assuming that Northern Illinois comes out and plays a hell of a game. But if not, I mean, like I said, it could be 42-14. I've been pretty close the first 2 weeks of the season here, and I've been really close over the years. So, as far as Michigan State and Miami, I think Michigan State's got 6.5 points going in that one. So, I mean, if I'm betting, I'd take Michigan State with the points. Damian Kuhn says, man, we missed a little tasty info you gave and you bagging on Chat Sports. God, fuck James Yoder, right? That guy's a clown. Is he still doing this shit? I would like to get a decent look at Edwards for up. I would too. Is Yoder still doing things? I don't even pay attention. I just remember he tweeted me a few times. There was one time he wanted me to come on his show, and I called him and we were texting and everything, and they got to the point where I'm like, okay, well, if you're gonna be legit and want to really talk to me, or you're gonna just try to ambush me and make me look stupid. There was a point where he offered me a position with Chat Sports, and he was talking, money, and the guy, I don't know exactly what he does, but he's got some pictures that show him with some big people, with Charles Woodson at a wine thing. I remember seeing some of those. I think he's just a name dropper, and maybe he's been to some events. I don't really know. But the whole green screening of Schembechler Hall just shows you how much of a clown-ass guy that he is. So I don't even... he's still doing stuff, huh? I think one time, well, I don't know if I don't know if we had that. I told him one time, I'm like, dude, if you wanna box me, and let's throw some gloves on, because he was talking some big shit one night, and I was just like, Yoder, I will knock you out. And I'm not a big guy, but I've seen pictures of James Yoder. I saw this one, he was bragging about sneaking into Michigan Stadium, which I highly doubt he did, but he was wearing a Michigan jersey and this big fake gold chain with a Michigan football pendant on it, and I'm like, dude, you need to just stop. You would take, oh yeah, for sure, I would take him. No doubt about that. I'm 5'9", 160. I don't know what Yoder is, but he don't want it. He don't want it. The governor says. This is going to cost me the job I just interviewed for today. I swear to God. I hope they're not watching this. The governor says, what's your opinion of Michigan's third-string quarterback, the transfer guy? It's not Alex Bowman. It's Dan Villari. Alex Bowman's four. I do know that. And I knew that heading in. I mean, was it against Western when Villari came in after McCarthy? So, I mean, right there, that told it to you. But I've known it. Bowman was fourth string. He hasn't been here long enough to learn the playbook. I do still have little moles and people who whisper to me, and he's just didn't pick up the playbook, and just not as talented as the other guys. The governor says, wow, I didn't know it. Yes. Damian Kuhn says, Scrappy, yeah. That's the Flint in me. If you're from Flint, Michigan, you just have that certain element in you. Derek Campbell says Villari's a running quarterback who they will plug in later in the season. Yeah, Dan's going to be in there for some gadget plays, definitely. Goal line, if you see Dan Villari in a goal line package, you know it's a sneak. He's really athletic. Really athletic. I've had guys talking about him for the past couple of years. I do still keep in contact with some Michigan players. They're still there right now, so I'm not going to mention. If you guys missed it, years ago, why do you think I always had the hookup on all the info, all the time? It was because Wilton Spate was my guy. And I don't want to say like getting him in. We had discussions, and I mean anything pertaining to quarterback, I immediately knew. And when there was that rumor, I remember when what was it? It was on Go Blog said that he broke his collarbone and that he wasn't gonna start against Ohio State. And I tweeted them, I know for a fact, and they were laughing at me. And I'm Go Blog, and I actually had a feud years ago. I don't like those guys either. They're just super fans. And so anyway, yeah, that was a whole thing, and there was like a little Twitter beef, and they're insisting because they know everything, and I'm like, look, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about, and then they want to know who's your source. Well, I don't need to reveal my source. I never revealed my sources. I mean, I just did with Wilton. He hasn't been there in years. I mean, it doesn't matter. I'll never reveal my source, and it's not like it's inflammatory stuff. I mean, he never said anything bad. Everything, all the information that he gave me was good. It was about position changes and play call. How do you think I knew everything I did about Jed Fish? So I mean, it was that type of stuff. It's not like he was reporting bad news or like violations or some crazy shit like that. I mean, it was having a good source on the team. Is Filiaga off the line? No. Cade McNamara says we have to throw in more Cade. Wide receivers need to build confidence. The governor says, how far is Cade over JJ? Talent, and this is another thing that I'm well versed on because I happen, for some reason, I end up getting connections with quarterbacks. So take that as what you want to. But talent-wise, Cade McNamara and JJ McCarthy don't compare. JJ is superior in talent. Cade knows the playbook better. He's more experienced. He's more mature. He's a leader. But that's all I'm gonna say right now. I never liked speculating, but I will say. I mean, Cade McNamara is more of a game managing quarterback. If there's a string of where he can't manage the game, then Michigan's going to have to go to J.J. McCarthy. But Cade McNamara, to me, is more of a Jake Rudock type, if that makes sense. Jake was not super flashy. They threw the ball a lot around with Amara and J.U., and Jake Butt. But Jake Rudock wasn't that guy who's just going to wow you with his arm. Cade McNamara is not that guy. He's a game manager. So for Michigan quarterback comparison, Harbaugh era, for the sake of that, kind of look at Cade as more of a Jake Rudock. I don't think that we'll see JJ start this year, but there's always two conditions, right? Injury and poor performance. So if we see one of those two out of Cade McNamara, the Wolverines will have no choice but to go to JJ. I'm gonna check Twitter real quick. See any questions, notifications here. I'm gonna get another beer. We're going on 40 minutes. I was like, I'm gonna keep this short and sweet, but these things always go an hour. So if you have any questions, get them loaded up here. No speculation, but there's Derek Campbell says no speculation, but there's still a spate on the team. Just kidding. Yeah, Jess's brother. Always loved your stuff, Adam. Yeah, I appreciate it, Derek. Yeah, Jess Spate, younger brother of Wilton. DA says Cade will play until we lose. Using our tight end more would help him. All right, we'll get back to that. If you guys have any questions, comments, I'll be right back. I thought, why not? It's Friday night. I didn't have anything else better to do, so why not get on and talk some Michigan football. I haven't done a live stream in a little while either, so I tried to do one after week one, but it wouldn't let me do it. It's some kind of technical difficulty. Who knows? Questions on Twitter? Nope. Just some retweets. Again, here's that article that I just wrote about when Michigan runs the ball a lot. I had fun doing this. I always liked writing stuff that I had to look up stats. I like to know. I'm really a numbers guy. And believe it or not, I hate math, but being a sports writer for so long, it got me really into numbers. And it helps in other areas too, especially if you could translate it, to like a marketing career, your KPIs, key performance indicators, all that is translate rushing yards per game or yards per attempt. It's the same thing. It really is. So, that's what's helped me kind of understand numbers a lot. And I was always, I hated math. I absolutely, it's my worst subject. I think a lot of people that are into writing, math is not their forte. So I've met a lot of really smart people, science backgrounds, mathematic backgrounds, and they can't write to save their lives. Their writing looks like shit. So I guess it's a trade-off. Damien Kuhn said, "I love the Adams." Why not? It's Friday. I did a couple times last year too, and again, not that I don't. Well, I'm not a sports writer really. I'm a sports blogger. I don't go to the media events. I'm not going to do anything that's going to jeopardize anything in the future, But I am more relaxed now, and with all due respect to Saturday Tradition, I don't want to do anything or say anything that's going to make them look bad either. But I am just a freelance writer, and I am just giving you guys now. Like I always gave you guys my honest and straight opinion, but now I'll do it with a little bit more emphasis and maybe a 4-letter word here and there and crack a beer open. But other than that, it's still the same type of discussions that we've had over the years. So just a little more relaxed. Governor says, what defensive players should we look for this season? I really like Chris Jenkins. He's coming in, he's second string defensive lineman. I like Chris. Watch out for Chris. Josh Ross is another one. I've liked Josh Ross for years. I think that, and I mentioned this earlier, he's like a Mike McCray type, the leadership. Maybe A really good player as well. Maybe, and I don't think he gets the recognition he deserves. Mike certainly did not get the recognition that he deserved from the media. He did from his teammates. He was a captain, but Mike McCray did not get the respect that he deserved while he was at Michigan. Now he's on the coaching staff at Notre Dame, so good for Mike. But yeah, I look at Josh Ross as similar guy as Mike McCray. The governor says your prediction with Washington was close to that. I was that close. I know. And same with Western in week 1. So I'm comfortable saying 42-14 Michigan if the game plays out the way that a lot of us think it's going to play out. But again, I wouldn't be surprised if it's something crazy like a 35-20 or 38-24, a little bit closer. I like Michigan by at least 2 touchdowns. And I was talking about the betting odds earlier. Michigan minus 26.5. I don't know if I'm cool with that. Like I like Michigan to win this game, but I don't. Is this a? And it's one of those things. You're damned if you do, damned if you don't, right? I mean, if I don't go with it, and here we go, and here's a 56-3 Hawaii blowout, or something that we've seen several times during the non-conference schedule under Jim Harbaugh, just annihilating opponents. So. If you guys haven't heard me mention it earlier, let's see if you're paying attention. And I wrote about it too. I'll drop the link again. What is Michigan's record under Jim Harbaugh when running 50 or more times? I mentioned it earlier. This is a fun trivia stat. Impress one of your friends while you're out having a couple beers or something, or it's one of those stats. It's not so I hate the really obscure stats. Like this is the second time that a Big Ten running back rushed for 135 yards on the road during a primetime game and under a half moon. Some weird just like ESPN, like a LeBron stat. I mean, I swear to God, they make up stats for LeBron. They make up stats just to say whatever. But a legit stat is when Michigan runs the ball 50 or more times under Jim Harbaugh, they're undefeated, 7-0. Yes, the governor, 7-0. Damian Kuhn, yes. Cameron Clark, you think JJ will be the guy? If he's not, man, then I don't know who in the hell is going to be. So I wrote a column last year. I'm like, if this Joe Milton thing doesn't work out, really have to question the way, what's going on with quarterbacks with Jim Harbaugh. It's been a steady decline. I think Shea Patterson could have been better under different circumstances. I think Shea got a little bit of a bad rap. But I will say, and I have Wilton, best quarterback Michigan's had under Harbaugh. Shea, number 2. 30-1. No, 7-0. You're close. Almost. We're somewhat in the ballpark. No, Michigan is 7-0 under Jim Harbaugh when they run the ball 50 or more times. And I should look when they run the ball like 40 or more times too. That might be a little bit more accurate. But, I mean, because you don't see teams running the ball regular. But I guess that just proves the point. Everybody was mad that, they ran the ball 56 times against Washington. They knew that's what they had to do. I mean, if you know how you're going to beat an opponent, then why do anything else? If I'm in a fight with you and I know that shots to the ribs are really what's going to kill you, what's really going to put do some damage, put a hurting on you. Excuse me. Then why am I going to waste my time like kicking or with jabs or something? Why not just go straight for the body blow? I mean that's what the Wolverines did. Cameron Clark says JJ is a great kid. Love what he's doing with some of his NIL money. Well, how many of you guys watched that interview that I had with JJ McCarthy last year? Show of hands, anybody? That was a good interview. And I want to say, as a matter of fact, let me pull it up. I want to say that we went probably for a good 25, 30 minutes. It was, it was a really good interview. I was impressed with, this kid's in high school, I'm twice this guy's age. more than twice. I'll be 40 in December. I was really just impressed with how mature that he seemed. I guess maybe for some reason I'm getting older, and I think, okay, well, we were just all dumb in high school. Maybe that wasn't the case. I mean, I feel like I was reasonably intelligent in high school, but talking with JJ McCarthy, I did not feel like I was talking to a kid that was in high school. And I've coached. A lot of you guys know that I coached. I've coached varsity baseball, high school varsity baseball. I've coached college summer. So guys around those age, and not taking away from anything from the guys that I coached, but I've seen what a average 16 to 18-year-old says and does. I've heard it all. And of course JJ maybe putting his best face on. He's probably got those moments too with his buddies, but I just didn't feel like I was talking to a high school kid. He seemed pretty poised and confident. So here's the interview from last year with JJ. It was 25 minutes. Real good stuff, actually. I feel like it was one of the better interviews that I've gotten to do on the live stream. I always wanted to get Noah Furbush, Chase Winovich, Kyle Kalis took over my Facebook Live one time. I always wanted to get those guys on the live stream, though. Chase Winovich for sure. Missed, got a link. Yep. Cameron Clark says yeah, I just dropped the link in there right now, guys. Check it out. I mean, it was just after Thanksgiving of last year, so it's not going to be anything ultra current, but I mean, it'll give you a good glimpse into how he thinks and what he was thinking entering Michigan. I asked him about the Harbaugh rumors, because of course there's always rumors that Jim Harbaugh is going to leave, so I asked him what he thought about that, and he was steadfast on that Michigan was a school for him, and he likes Coach Harbaugh, but he committed to the University of Michigan. The governor, is MSU legit or just fluff? I don't know, man. I don't want to get you guys know I'm a Michigan State fan, right? I think everybody knows that. I don't want to get excited, but Kenneth Walker, dude. I don't know. Peyton Thorne looks pretty steady. If they can run. Michigan State is the type of team with if there's like a look at how successful they were with like Le'Veon Bell and Edward Baker, just being the bell cows, right? Those guys just carrying the ball. Cedric Irvin was like that. J.U. Colquitt was like that. If Kenneth Walker can be that guy, yeah, Michigan State might be legit. I'm not saying it's gonna challenge for Big Ten championship spot, but finishing maybe second or third in the East is not out of question. Look at the string of dominant running backs the Michigan State had. Jeremy Langford, I just mentioned, Le'Veon Bell, Edwin Baker, J.U. Colquitt, Cedric Irvin. Michigan State has churned out just running back after running back after running back, and each time those guys were the featured pieces of the offense, and they've had good. I talked about good dual backfields, right? And I'll point to Michigan State with Cedric Irvin and J.U. Colquitt. We'll look at Le'Veon Bell and Edwin Baker. That was a hell of a backfield too. Michigan with Blake Corum and Hassan Haskins. This has the same potential. I mentioned one of my favorite college backfields ever, Run DMC out of Arkansas, Darren McFadden and Felix Jones. This is the type of potential that Blake Corum and Hassan Haskins have, and you guys know I never said things I think Michigan fans want to hear. That's just my honest opinion. I'm not a Michigan fan, but you put those guys in any other uniform, you don't have to be a Michigan fan to recognize good talent, great talent. Blake Corum and Hassan Haskins are two exciting players to watch, and they just happen to play for Michigan. So I do think that they have. It's too early to say now, and I haven't seen enough, to make a judgment. But I could say in the Big Ten that easily probably the best backfield in the Big Ten, best duo in the Big Ten, and maybe it'll prove to be so in the country. But when you have a guy like Blake Corum and Hassan Haskins, you can't ask for more. You have and that's what you want, complementary guys. You don't want two of the same guy in the backfield, right? What's the point of that? You know, Cedric and J.U. weren't the same at Michigan State. Edwin and Le'Veon Bell were not the same running back at Michigan State. You know, Felix and Darren weren't the same guy at Arkansas. You want guys that complement two different styles, and I think that the Michigan's got that. Like you have the cutting agility, like playmaker, highlight reel guy in Blake Corum. You have the guy Hassan Haskins, and I don't like mixing, you know, making comparisons and especially lofty ones, but think of how like Emmitt Smith's running style was, a little bit of power, but then also think of how agile Barry Sanders was. And Hassan Haskins had a couple runs for a bigger back. He had a couple runs to me that kind of, I don't know, maybe I had too many 200s at that time. I don't know. But it's a good mixture, you know. He had Hassan Haskins has good style, like some power, but he's got some grace to him too. He's not just a bruising, you know, like, you know, just thud kind of, you know, a fullback masquerading in a running back's body. He's got some power to him. He's also got some grace. The governor says, "I know you're an MSU flunky, but we forgive you." Damian Kuhn says, "Adam, you revealed who your team is on a live stream in the past. I missed it. It's been years, and I still don't know." College team, Michigan State. Cameron Clark says, "Tigers question for you. Who you think we need this offseason?" I'm hoping Torque and Green are up soon. Well, they're they got promoted to Toledo 3 months ago or so, 3.5 months ago. They've been there since I want to say July, maybe late June. I don't know. Torque might be up next year though. Cameron Clark says Mike wants to play. Mike, who? I don't know. Cameron Clark said Mike Hart. Are you talking about Mike Hart? Cameron Clark says Edwards, Morowich. I don't know, but I don't know. I don't know what the hell that. And I really like Donovan. Okay, Cameron. Edwards, Morowich. I don't know about. We should fix what ain't broke. Mike Hart. H-A-R-T. That was probably autocorrect, though. I wrote about how Blake Corum could be Michigan's most important player on offense since Mike Hart. And I don't think that's a stretch. Do you know? Well, I just gave it away. Mike Hart is the only player in Michigan history, other than an offensive lineman, because I couldn't find a log with offensive lineman play counts. He is the only player in Michigan history with 1,000 or more plays from scrimmage. Did you know that? Or 1,000 touches. I forgot how many plays it was from scrimmage. Nobody had seen the field more than Mike Hart on offense in Michigan history. And how important was it? Yeah, they had Chad Henne. Yeah, there was Mario Manningham.